Thank you. Senator Deakin.
Thank you. Since we opened up this inquiry on December 4th, it has been wonderful to listen to each of you share and offer insights into your past and present as it relates to community, family, sport, health, and your own personal pursuits. Thank you for being vulnerable, open. I think senators will agree with me that we know a little bit more about each other. We are thrilled by the 18 senators who chose to speak about the value of sport while we enjoyed the Olympic, Paralympic, and Arctic Winter Games. On behalf of Senator McBean, Senator Petitclerc, and myself, thank you. We watched and cheered for Canadian athletes and coaches as the Olympics and Paralympics in Milano Cortina stole our hearts, had us watching at crazy hours while glued to the edge of our seats. Our athletes made us proud and cheer loud. For me, it was particularly special to cheer on Team Canada in a packed gymnasium in Yellowknife, and then to support our Paralympians with hundreds in Whitehorse when the Yukon hosted the Arctic Winter Games last month. An incredible games that celebrated sport, tradition, culture, and history in a way I have never seen. From the Arctic Games today, I proudly wear this pin with the number 91. This number refers to the Truth and Reconciliation Call of Action 91. That is, that when we plan games and have sporting events, that we make sure that Indigenous territory protocols are respected and Indigenous communities are involved in all aspects of planning and participation. I'm very proud of that work being done. The intention behind this inquiry was to create space for colleagues to share their experiences in sport and physical activity, the impact and the role in building communities and this nation. We share with sport in our lives, with our families, in our communities. I'd like to take a few minutes to look back on what we learned from you. We heard time and time again that sport is more than competition. It brings Canadians together across language, religion, culture, and belief. We heard how sports builds community and acts as social infrastructure, particularly in communities that are rural, northern, or remote. We heard, for instance, about how sport is the foundation of social life in Senator Assioun's community of Cape Breton. But the impact of sport is starkly evident not only on the playing field, but also in our living rooms and on crowded city streets cheering on Canadian athletes as they compete on the world stage. The Olympics and Paralympics brought us all together around the shared identity as Canadians and around our pride for those who wear the maple leaf and represent us so well. This is the power of international sporting events. And we heard all about it in Senator Al-Zaibak's speech. As he and his family, newcomers to Canada, celebrated the Canadian women's hockey team's Olympic victory in 2002. They felt a part of it, part of the collective of Canadians cheering and celebrating on the streets. I would like to remind the Chamber of his words because they were so powerful. He told us that sport gave his family a team to cheer for before they fully knew the language. It gave them somewhere to go, to belong, before they had the words to say so. Quote, College, we have also heard about the pride athletes feel at the fact that they give Canadians something to cheer about. I'm thinking of Senator McBean's gratitude for the couple that just became Canadian citizens following the Barcelona Olympics. They thanked her for giving them something to cheer for in their new home. I'm also looking back to Senator Pettin's speech when she told us about Liam Hickey, a Paralympic ice hockey player from her province who is so proud to wear the Newfoundland and Labrador coat of arms on his sleeve. We also heard that sport has profoundly shaped many people sitting in this very chamber. Our recently retired Senator Smith recounted a heartbreaking Grey Cup loss to the Edmonton Eskimos during this time as a CFL player for the Montreal Alouettes, an experience that taught him to accept failure and perhaps even more importantly, the importance of learning from it. And for Senator David Wells, high-altitude mountaineering taught the importance of preparedness, resilience, and humility. Senator Monsignor talked to us about her active lifestyle, which includes skating, running, swimming, and cycling, and how it's taught her to value hard work and perseverance. Colleagues, no matter what sport is or what level it's practiced at, we heard on so many occasions throughout this inquiry that sport builds lifelong skills, discipline, resilience, teamwork, leadership, and courage in fear and uncertainty. In many ways, it has shaped the determined, capable, and effective people who sit in this chamber today. And since the hats we wear in this chamber are those of legislators, I would be remiss not to acknowledge that we heard overwhelmingly that sport and physical activity are not simply recreation. They are policy. We heard from Senator Couture that physical activity is health policy. Being active is linked to improved mental health, increased social connection, and reduced stress. In short, we heard, and here we quote, what is good for the bicep is good for the brain. And if I may, Senator Kutcher, we thank you, I miss you already, and wish you the very best. Senator McBean told us that sport is social policy. It builds confident, resilient leaders and strengthens communities. In my own speech, we heard that sport and physical activity is economic policy. Sport, colleagues, is a massive economic driver. The upcoming FIFA World Cup, for instance, is projected to give Canada's economy a $2 million boost. What was also loud and clear throughout this speech is that we cannot harness the benefits of sport and physical activity alone. Rather, athletes are the products of the people and the communities around them. As a former educator, Senator Petitclerc's story about the impact that a former gym teacher had on her life resonated deeply. Refusing to give up on her after her accident, he induced her to swimming, a sport which changed her life. She has never slowed down. It reminds me of the kindness that was shown to me by my coach when he did not bill me for fees he knew I could not pay. Beyond the coaches, we heard so much about parents and volunteers who make it possible by coordinating logistics, driving athletes to early morning practices, and staffing big events such as the Canada Games. Let us not forget that among the many hats that Senator Lafreda has, one he wears is also that of soccer dad, having served as the president of the Montreal Concordia Elite Soccer Club. At the same time, we heard about the ways that sport gives back to our communities. Major sporting events build facilities that leave enduring legacies in our host communities. Senator Duncan told us, for instance, about how the Canada Games in Whitehorse welcomes now over 3,000 people from the community each day. And last week, I neglected to list Senator Duncan as a Canada Games medalist. Sport curling, year 1979. What we heard is that sport and physical activity are invaluable. However, as we heard throughout the inquiry, there are also challenges. Our colleagues highlighted that participation is uneven or even declining in several groups: girls, people with disabilities, lower-income families, and rural or remote communities. What is most important to highlight is this lack of participation is not driven by lack of interest. Rather, it's the product of systemic inequalities in sport infrastructure, lack of accessible facilities, gender bias, and program design that may not be inclusive. At the same time, though, senators highlighted the importance of inclusive sport in making Canadians feel like they belong. Senator Petitclerc spoke to us about Milan, her cousin's son, and how his involvement in sport has made him feel like he belongs, because it allows him to define himself, not by his cerebral palsy, but rather as an athlete. Senator Popatello spoke about the benefits of sport in building self-esteem, self-confidence, and positive body image in women. This, colleagues, is the power of sport. But to fully unlock it, we need to make sure that sport and physical activity is accessible to everyone. Reassuringly, progress is underway to make sport more inclusive. Senator Christopher Wells pointed to an example when he talked about Pride Tape, a roll of rainbow hockey tape that players could use to indicate that 2SL LGBTQIA plus athletes are welcome in sport. Last week, we heard incredible speeches from Senator Hay, Pate, and Cormier. From Senator Hay, a powerful and vulnerable story about how the sport community gathered around her brother when he passed and of the life-saving role running has played in her own life. From Senator Pate, we learned about the role that sports can play in prisons, rehab, and community integration processes. And from Senator Cormier, we heard about the importance of participation above accomplishment. Because, and here I quote, being able to move our bodies in the company of others is the best trophy of all. Senator Cormier, you have given us a full-on ice skating visual that we will never, ever forget. And just now, we heard from Senator Martin's remarks delivered with thanks from Senator Atul-Jean that remind us of the pride of the Maple Leaf, the magic of hosting Olympic Games in your own country, and the importance of sport in her life. Thank you, colleagues, for sharing your stories with us. They're important and they echo what we have heard about the power and the value of sport in all corners of this country. About halfway through this inquiry, Senator McBean, Petitclerc, and our staff sat down with the 4-member team of the Future of Sport in Canada Commission. It is a fulsome report that intends to respond to some of the issues that emerged in the inquiry, exploring ways to build a strong sports system, to ensure safe, inclusive sport, to support and encourage all Canadians to be active, and to find ways to make it affordable for all. On this last point, we were thrilled to hear the recent news in the spring economic statement that $755 million will be earmarked for sport. There's a long road ahead of us, but we are so grateful for this generational contribution. The work continues to ensure that we support our youth from playground to podium and back. Now, allow me to come back to the senators sitting in this chamber. I invite you in advance to think about National Health and Fitness Day on the Hill coming up this June. This is a legacy to the Vancouver Olympics and a bill supported by us in the Senate 10 years ago. National Health and Fitness Day invites all Canadian communities to open their doors to sport and physical activity free of cost. We continue to aspire to be the fittest, most active nation in the world, and we need your support to make it happen. I encourage you, of course, to be active and to bring the same lens you have brought to this inquiry into your communities to make sure they have what they need to live healthy, active lives. I ask you to continue sharing photos of your networks from National Health and Fitness Day. Over the years, we've enjoyed seeing them. A few highlights: Senator Labuschagne Benson shopping and hauling wood, Senator Black planting trees, Senator Smith and those early morning intense workouts at the Chateau Laurier, Senator Francis' commitment to physical activity, Senator Pate cross-country skiing, Senator Greenwood on her long meditative hikes, Senator Wu and Dean on their long runs, Senator Cormier, my partner on the annual Army run each September, Senator Beam, so dedicated to his time in the gym, Senator McBean and Robinson committed to their weekly workouts, Senator Deakin, Coyle, and Duncan on those long, speedy walks back to their condos, especially in the middle of winter time, Senator David Wells with his weekly parliamentary hockey group, and Senator Clément with her CIBC run for the Cure dedication, and Senator Olson, yes, on the badminton courts. I am sure there are many more of you who have stories of physical activity to share. Way back in the day, sport was big on Parliament Hill. Imagine the front field and the fields of Rideau Hall, where annual soccer games were held with MPs taking on the House pages. Today, these soccer games happen on Centre Block's front lawn. In 1938, the Speaker hosted softball matches on the grounds of Rideau Hall, and the games were also played against security and the members of the press gallery. In 1948, there was even a House of Commons bowling league. When I started 9 years ago, Yoga on the Hill was great to attend. Rugby matches in 2012, and in 2017, many of you might remember, a huge ice rink was erected on the front hill as part of Canada's 150th anniversary celebrations. Colleagues, Parliament Hill has been more than just a political arena. It has been a playing field for camaraderie, community, and cause. Let's please make sure generations of parliamentarians continue to find time to play together, to walk and talk together on the Hill. As I close, I invite you to move your attention to the Commonwealth Games being held this summer in Glasgow, July 23rd to August 2nd. The chef de mission, Erica Wiebe, she's an Olympic gold medalist in freestyle wrestling, two-time Commonwealth Games champ. She will lead Team Canada into the stadium, a 10-sport program including 6 fully integrated para-sports will make up these games. That is what is so special about the Commonwealth Games, is it has the combination of able-bodied and para-athletes that perform wonderfully together. They will demonstrate unity, diversity, and sustainability to the highest of levels. The King's Baton Relay for those games comes through Canada this week, stopping in Vancouver, Toronto, and Burlington, and a beautiful Indigenous crafted baton with the King's message will make its way to Glasgow. And next week, the inaugural One Ability Games open in Richmond, BC. 900 young people with disabilities will compete at the Richmond Oval, a legacy facility. And in the play stream, there'll be 300 competitive athletes shooting for gold in the national championships for goalball, wheelchair, basketball, and blind hockey. As we close this inquiry, there is much to celebrate and much to think about. On behalf of Senator McBean and Senator Petitclerc and myself, I extend a heartfelt thank you to all who contribute to this inquiry. Sport, activity, competition, whatever you call it, improves lives. It's simple as that. Everyone should have an equitable access to the field of play. Let's work to make this possible for all Canadians, because long after the score is forgotten, the person you become is what truly stays. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.